But we're now 30 minutes into the podcast, and your take is that we should lift the chip ban and try to recreate the conditions that existed in 2017 and bind China to TSMC once again going forward. Is that right?
Yes. So the Trump administration, again, I'm not sure the ZTE and Huawei bans were fully thought through in the implications. So that's a negative check mark. On the positive side, the one really important thing they got done, and the single most important chip regulation or convincing or job owning, was EUV. There's not a single EUV machine in China. Now, this does not mean China will never make an EUV machine. Like, it's been invented once, it can be invented again. And so at some point they will figure out how to make an EUV machine. But it is, I think, still reasonable, even with SMIC's impressive progress with DUV machines and quad patterning and all these sorts of pieces, and their willingness to not worry about yields. I think at some point there's just a hard wall. Like you need to figure out how to get that beam of light that does the actual etching small enough to go down to these small. The light is still wider than the actual like size of these chips, but like DUV, it's like a bridge too far.
Infinitesimally small.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And so I think EUV is a wall, and China does not have an EUV machine. If they know an EUV machine exists, they know in broad strokes how it works. At some point, they will make one. It would be a lot easier to make one if they had even one in the country, because you could actually see what it is.
Engineering is a specialty of the Chinese economy, generally speaking.
Yeah, and again, this is where, in the empathetic mindset, we reverse engineered a lot of stuff from England in the like 1800s and 1900s, right? It is what it is. We're in the real world here, I was
not being derogatory there. They're unbelievable at what they're able to accomplish.
Right. And you have this sort of wall, and I think that wall is still meaningful. We went to 5 nanometers, then we've gone to 3 nanometers. This year we're coming out with 2 nanometers. In a few years will be basically 1 nanometer equivalent. They're starting to change the names. There's a bit where all this is marketing speak, but these are meaningful shifts. Like the chips become exponentially smaller, which means you either get way more efficiency or way more speed or some combination of the two. They run more cooler. Like there's just remains unallied goods and positive. The entire computing industry and history is based on this process continuing. And so we're still talking about a pretty massive gap that is set in the long run to continue to expand for quite a while. And so all the talk about what China has done to have good enough chips as far as these Ascend AI accelerators go, the reality is they're still pretty substantially behind what comes out of TSMC. And there's a real significant wall between them overcoming that. Again, I think they will get over that wall. It's going to take some amount of time. And in that amount of time, the gap is going to continue to widen. And so despite all these factors, despite the fact that every company in China knows they need their own supply chain, despite the fact this is a priority for the government and they'll funnel all this money, I still think this wall is so significant and the benefits of super powerful chips are so massive. All the reasons why these chip regulations exist, because we don't want China to have them for fear of what they will do with them, is exactly why I think if the chip ban went away, Huawei can talk all they want about the great progress SMIC has made. They're putting an order in for TSMC's leading edge tomorrow. And ByteDance and Alibaba and DeepSeek and everyone else, they're buying NVIDIA chips tomorrow. They're the top of the line ones if they can. And that, again, and so the response here, but they will also then be building yes, they will. But I think it matters the extent to which, if your life depends on it, versus, oh yes, we should also be doing this thing in parallel. I just think like semiconductors are so hard and so difficult that this will meaningfully blunt China's progress in actual semiconductors in semiconductor manufacturing equipment because so much energy and money and focus will go to, oh, thank God we finally have advanced chips. By the way, we need to build AI. So let's buy from TSMC. Is this an ideal situation? If my recommendation is one that would have been better in 2015, in 2016, 2017. Maybe I should have come out more full-throated, not buried it in a daily update with Huawei. I should have been yelling at the rooftops then to say, we are going down the wrong road. This is where it plays out. I think that's a totally fair critique. Mm-hmm. But this is sort of the reason I felt I had to write this now. By coincidence, that Bloomberg report came out about the Trump administration probably strengthening chip controls. You saw this was going to be the natural reaction to DeepSeek. You saw oh, they're catching up as it is. We need to crack down harder. We need to do it more. And my takeaway is, look, no, this is our last chance to. This is why I started with honestly, all the opening part of the article about AI probably was a distraction from getting the main point. Part of it, I've been trying to write this article for so long. It was hard to get me off the mat to do it. And that was like an easy way to get started. And then it was 2 a.m. I'm like, I can't rewrite this and edit it. It's just going out the way it is. But
you
it's
voiced that complaint earlier, and I disagree. I actually think it was an important way to frame the discussion of TSMC and its importance to the American economy, because it's easy to overlook that for all the hype around everything that AI is going to do, everything that AI makes possible today, what it might make possible tomorrow, all of it is still reliant on NVIDIA, which is still reliant on TSMC. And if you take TSMC off the map in some sort of invasion scenario, everyone is screwed, and all of this progress grinds to a halt. And I thought it was important to make that point on the way into the discussion of why it's important to protect TSMC and think about incentives here and think about the most effective ways to deter China from invading Taiwan. So I liked the intro more than you
I
did,
appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. That's exactly it. I mean, honestly, I think the AI industry, just from a broad perspective, is a phenomenal endorsement of capitalism. People want to complain about, oh, we need top-down state control, XYZ. This is actually an amazing example of how private industry can do things more effectively and efficiently than a centralized top-down thing can do. I called it the Goldilocks moment. Like we sit here on the side, we're like, is it actually economically sustainable to be building these leading edge models that people that can be distilled and people can quickly catch up? It's a fair question, but it's a open enough question that it's happening, and it's happening on multiple fronts. Anthropic is getting investors and investing. OpenAI is getting investors and investing. Google is investing. We have multiple companies. We have XAI coming out of nowhere. And by the way, I love Grok. It is like it actually is making me questioning some of my. On one hand, my bit about OpenAI controlling the consumer interface and mindshare is really important. I think that still holds. For me, I was going on about, I see how people think Anthropic is a little better than OpenAI, but I like the OpenAI app, and I'm used to it, and I'm sticking with it. No, I have almost completely deep research is still amazing, but Grok for just your general chatbot, it's so much better. In my estimation. And so but which is great. There's massive competition happening here. It's not enough competition to make people stop investing. So we're getting the best of both worlds. Meanwhile, we have prices being driven down to nothing. We have these open source alternatives that are coming along. We have all these hyperscalers that are making these decisions. We have the neo clouds that are coming up and absorbing capacity if you want. I just saw something on Twitter about how H100 utilization is back to being sky high after DeepSeek, which we saw in China as well, where suddenly it's like, wow, this is like, and you have companies who are always kind of wary of getting locked in to these companies. Like, well, at the worst, there is an open source if we always need to go in that direction. And Llama obviously has been a player in this regard too. They have they have a big challenge in front of them. We're not going to see anything, I think, until this LlamaCon, but what they have from a reasoning model, and can they, really get back in the game. Everything about AI, again, terrifying if you're worried about AI doom. And so I'm just acknowledging that. We'll get people emailing about it. We don't have room to get into that right now, other than to say the doomers have to adjust to a reality that DeepSeek exists. Like I called it the minimum open product, or minimum like that is the level that is just available to anyone. And any like being precious about anything at that level or below is by definition crazy, right? You go back to GPT-2 not being released because it's too dangerous. It's like fast forward a very short amount of time, and sort of here we are. In
It's
this,
all working.
It's all working, and there's a single dependency, which is even more than NVIDIA, which I think could be overcome. It is TSMC, and TSMC. This is why I started with the island. It's why I started with that in-flight magazine. It is, and you have the other problem is you have this mismatch of interests between the U.S. and China. The U.S., of course, wants to support Taiwanese democracy and economically is dependent on TSMC. China doesn't care at the end of the day about either. They want Taiwan, and if it's bombed to smithereens and is that's fine. They'll still take it and be happy about it. And that's like it's a mismatch of desire and motivations that I think is very problematic in sort of the long run of time. And it just worries me to accentuate that. China already wants it more. And then if they take away incentives to not do it, that just makes the situation worse. And so, yeah, I don't know. So do we give them
I mean, that's what I like about your argument. I'm not sure I agree wholeheartedly, but I thought it was a compelling case. And to your point on China's willingness to buy from whoever is fabbing the best chips, like we've had indications over the past couple of years. It occurred to me while you were talking, TSMC has been accused of fabbing for Huawei subsidiaries over the past few years. So even as Huawei is working with SMIC and having all the success with the Ascend chips, like clearly or allegedly, there's still some appeal to working with TSMC. And also another feature of the Chinese market is that it is unbelievably competitive. And so a company like ByteDance, a company like Huawei, like everybody is going to be vying for the best chips.
Yeah, no one is compromising their products. That's
exactly.
right. That's right.
And
they will.
Important to keep in mind that it may be a communist country, but it is very, very capitalist and cutthroat in a lot of respects.